Okay, I got one for you. As it's just
Sure you do.
For a minute, pretend you're not the Pitt defensive coordinator. Should a defense get the ball on a touchback when they don't actually recover it?
Should a defense get the ball on a touchback when they don't actually recover it?
Loaded question, Jerry.
That is a loaded question. I mean, it's the rule, and I get it. You can look at it two ways. I mean, I don't know. If a defense makes the effort to strip the ball, I can see that. It's not a true change of possession, so I don't know. I can see the argument on either side, and I know I didn't answer anything about your rule, but if I just got surprised by the question, too.
If it happened on the 50, it wouldn't be a defensive ball. Defensive ball. It's
Right.
out of bounds.
Right. I agree with you. I don't know. That's a good question. It doesn't make sense.
It helps the defense.
It helps.
Right?
It helps the defense, but it doesn't fit in the flow of the rest of the rules.
Yeah, right.
But I don't know. That's who powers are higher to be than me. But it is interesting.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. A lot of those situational things are interesting to me. You know, for instance, I was talking to Chris Arian today, and you know, they got a great punt returner, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay. Should a guy covering a punt be able to block the punt returner when the ball hits the ground and he signals a fair catch? Back to you.
Yeah.
And he can.
Yeah. He's allowed to do that.
He can once it hits the ground. But it's an interesting, you know what I mean? And that's the thing that I think it's easy for us sitting in this room to say that's a rule. It's hard when a kid's reacting full speed. At what point?
But he can't. Once it hits the ground, the returner can't.
He can't catch it. But here's where it matters. Okay. Once it hits the ground, think about it now. If I want to save the roll or take a shot on the guy, I can do it.
You're allowed to do it.
Right. You know, another one in the NFL used to always happen. Okay. A guy takes a fair catch signal, the ball's still in the air. It's a plus 50 punt, so you're trying to down the punt. Well, that guy, even though he signaled fair catch, he could come light your gunner up. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. So imagine you're the kickside gunner and you're running down to the goal line. That guy signals fair catch. Well, they're all taught, and the gunners are all taught if the man signals fair catch, you get to the goal line.
Yeah.
Well, you can't be looking up for the ball or you get tattooed.
So you call fair catch and hit a gunner.
Yeah, absolutely.
If the ball's still in the air.
Right. So there's a bunch of little rules like that are funky.
Someday we'll sit around and have a beer.
Talk about rules. Well, I guess in more conventional line of questioning, are you looking forward to a more conventional offense against Duke this week than Georgia Tech?
Looking forward for the opportunity to play again. All right. It is. I mean, there's some comfort in knowing that you're playing stuff that you've repped all year. You know what I mean? Now, on the flip side, they might have as explosive skill players as we've seen all year. I mean, they got good backs, good receivers. Their quarterback is a good player. So they're conventional, but they definitely have weapons. But at the same time, to answer your question, there's probably a little more comfort.
How do you, as you've looked back, you had a pretty clean game against Virginia Tech, it seemed. I mean, tackling and assignments and all those. And then you have what happened on Saturday.
Yeah, let's not beat around the bush.
Right.
It was sloppy and it was ugly. I mean, fundamentally, it was poor. Missed a lot of tackles. And that's on me, on us as a defense, okay? And really what we're doing this week is the whole battle cry is back to fundamentals. Because you can't play the good defense if you don't get the ball carrier on the ground. You can't play good defense if you don't stay off the ground yourself. Stay up, stay on your feet. Can't play good defense if you don't tear off the block and get overlap. So those things are, obviously that's the battle cry for this week, because last week we clearly didn't do that.
The talk last week when we were up here was, being disciplined and staying in your lanes, all the mental things that are involved in going up against a triple option, but it didn't seem like, they embraced it.
No, and it was, and that's on us as coaches, obviously. we got to do a better job. You know, I told you before, what's the number one thing? Your job is to prepare them so they can have success on Saturday, and we got to do a better job preparing them, Jerry, to answer your question. And, yeah, we had some misfits, and we had some guys out of gaps and out of assignments, but you know, moving forward, obviously a couple things can happen. One, you slim down your package, okay, with the old less is more, and even detail it further and coaching the details and the fundamentals, the details of the eyes, the details of the assignment.
Is that something you come to sometimes when you're working with a lot of young guys? I mean, you've got some veteran guys, but you're still working with some youth out there.
Sure, you know, and I really do think this is whenever you struggle at any point, you got to go back to what are you good at, where did you start at, you know, and that's really what this week's all about.
What can Patrick Miller bring to the defense?
Length, speed, athleticism. You know, he's got great confidence for a young guy. Quite honestly, he doesn't know that he doesn't know. He doesn't know that he's. That's what I love about him. He could care less that Joe Blow's saying that kid's a freshman. I mean, that's what I love about the kid, and that's what he can bring to the table.
How about Bam Bradley working a lot of middle linebacker? I don't know if that's something that will extend beyond this week, but what have you seen of him?
Last week was a little bit different, too. You see him Bam and freeze at middle backer, just like you saw a year ago. That's quite honestly a different, you know. Now, Bam, different than Nick. I mean, Bam will be back at Mike again this week. But Nick, that was an option thing.
Matt will get more snaps.
Matt will be back in there, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, have you liked how Bam's developed? I mean,
yeah, I think Bam's gotten a lot better. I really do. You know, he's certainly a guy that gives you speed and athleticism, and he's big.
The stuff that you sort of mentioned earlier that you got to work on the tackling, the fundamentals. I mean, that's stuff that carries over no matter whether it's option or what Duke does. I mean, there's
absolutely
there's a carry over there, right? Yeah,
no question. I mean, that's one of the fundamentals to. It doesn't matter who you're playing. Mm-hmm. And as you watch that tape, that's some of the things that, even though you might not be playing an offense like that, it's still, you know, getting off a block, running your feet on a tackle. You know, you heard me say block tackles, and you saw a lot of block tackles in that game where guys weren't taking the second and third step, and I mean, not wrapping up. I mean, truly a block tackle where you're just laying a shoulder pad and there's no second, third step on contact, and there's no arms. So those are some of the things.
I don't think Snoddy was breaking tackles as much as bouncing off.
Right.
Tackle attempts. Right?
Exactly. And it was a lot of block tackles, I call them. Where, I mean, you're hitting with your shoulder pad, but you're not wrapping up and not getting your second and third step into the ground.
What does Duke do to get Crowder the ball? They do a lot of different things, right?
They do a bunch of different stuff. They'll get him the ball on screens. They'll throw him the ball downfield on double moves. They'll run jets with him. They'll put him in the backfield some and run option with him. I mean, they do a great job. I think. I mean, they do an outstanding job on offense in general, and they do a great job finding ways to get him the ball. And don't sleep on 17 either. He's a good player.
How do you counter that when? And, is it just always be aware of where he is, or what else can you do to sort of stop that?
With Crowder?
With Crowder, yeah.
I think you got to know where he's at, and the other thing is, I think at the end of the day, it's second and third guys. I mean, mark it down now. He's going to make somebody miss a tackle on Saturday. I mean, he's not a two-time All-ACC player. He's not that type of guy because he's a stiff. I mean, he is going to make somebody miss a tackle, and that's where you got to get overlap and hats to the ball. You got to get second and third guys running into the football.
Who in your defense, has the athleticism to keep up with him?
I think that a guy like Reggie Mitchell, I think he certainly can do it. I think, even Avante at times, Lafayette at times. I think we got some guys, but they got to be smart in what their strengths are. You know, Lafayette's strength isn't the same as Reggie, and play to your strengths. And at the end of the day, it still comes down to execution. Who's going to execute better, you or him? You know, and we'll do some certain things where, you know, we try to help him.
How has Avante's role on the defense sort of evolved as the season's gone on?
I mean, he started the year as the nickel corner, and that's still the role. You know, he's been in now. So with the emergence of Patrick, it's been great because we've been able to play more guys back there. But he is a guy, you heard me say in camp, he's competitive. That's what you love about him and Patrick. They don't know that, you know, all they know is that, hey, I get a chance to compete and play ball. And they're not scared of anything as far as that goes.
So I mean, if he's, you know, he might be getting a few fewer snaps right now than he was at the beginning of the year, but that's more because of what Patrick has done to put himself in that position.
Exactly. Which is not a bad thing.
Sure.
I mean, let's face it, guys. We'd like to have even more depth, right? I mean, depth is a good thing. And you know, the more guys you can play and the more roles you have on your football team, the more buy-in you have. And not to mention, I mean, when you're a younger team, you're fresher, the more people you can play.
Would Patrick move over to Ray's spot next year?
I don't know. I hate to, you know, definitely could. We'll see after spring, you know what I mean? We still got 5 games this year, you know what I mean? Or whatever, 4 games, hopefully 5.
Don't want to get too far ahead of myself, sorry.
You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to be,
I know.
I'm not trying to be, but quite honestly, I haven't thought about it.
Yeah. You're focused on this year.
Right.
My mind goes
This week.
I was going to say, yeah, you don't even know where Pat's going to play next week.
Thank you, guys.